SCREAMCAST brought to you by 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 SCREAMLINE Hotline.
Hey. Thank you guys for joining me on episode 6 of SCREAMCAST podcast, brought to you by SCREAMLINE Hotline. We're trying out a really cool filter on Instagram Live right now. A lot of bubbles going on. But thank you for sticking it out with SCREAMLINE with all of these changes and just going through a second season, which was like crazy. I didn't even think that a second season would be here, but thank you for sticking by. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds for SCREAMLINE and SCREAMCAST podcast. And just to let you know, May is National Mental Health Awareness Month, so you might have seen some posts on Instagram or on Twitter of just like all these little like gifs and cartoons like promoting mental health awareness, which is a really beautiful thing. And make sure to donate and pick up a Scream lighter. We have these 2 designs. And we have one of these in different colors as well, too, on the website. So if you go to the homepage, it shows that this month we're donating to the National Alliance of Mental Health Awareness. So it pretty much goes to just helping find cure, maybe not a cure for everything, because there's not a cure for everything, but helping finding treatment plans and like housing and all that good stuff for people in need who need it, especially people suffering with mental health problems too, because sometimes you can't find all of the resources on your own, and thank God there's people all around the world who want to help. So this month we are donating that 25% of every lighter that you buy to the NAMH or NAMHA. And we have these in different colors too. The little screen lighter with the little number on it. And this one's cool too. If you haven't already looked on the website, this is some of your guys' responses on the back. So you get to have a fun little read too on the back of the lighter. And we have those two designs up there. But for this episode 6 of Screamcast, we are focusing in on the infamous creative block. So I don't know if you've ever had like a creative block in your life or in your work, but here's what it says the definition of a creative block is. It's a period of time when the creative output of an individual or team falls to low levels. Unlike regular tasks such as cleaning a basement, creativity tends to have great peaks and valleys of productivity. And that just came from Google, so that's the definition of a creative block. And it kind of gets to those points where you're feeling really low, you're feeling really sad, you might not know what your purpose is, but one thing that you always have to keep in mind is a creative block does not mean that you are not creative. You may be an artist, and me myself having artists all around me, I see all of my friends, well not all of my friends, but a big majority of my friends struggling with that creative block. And I see it all the time, and I ask, what do you do to get out of it? What kind of things do you do to pick yourself up? And I don't know, it's just, you have to remember that you're not creative. You're an artist and you're working, and breaks are normal. Breaks are very healthy. So when you're feeling like you can't produce something, you can't always force yourself to just produce. You're gonna burn yourself out, tire yourself out. So blocks are kind of healthy for you, as long as you don't overdo it. What do they say? Yeah, too much of a good thing is always bad, right? But just because you're having a little break does not mean that you are totally at an end with your creativity. Even myself, I had to struggle with sometimes I feel guilty for taking breaks, and when it is healthy, it's kind of falls along the line of procrastination, and laziness and procrastination go together hand in hand too. So when you're taking your breaks, sometimes, from my personal experience, I go a little too far off and get to that lazy point too, and just end up not doing anything. I was talking to a friend today, and they kind of gave me an example and said that they thought if you're reaching over that 30-minute point of a break, you're just out of the game right now and you can't get back to it, or it's harder to get back to it. So maybe sometimes, depending on what you're doing, there are time limits on things. I mean, nothing's set in stone, but time limits that fit in toward your life. But you could always get back to that. You just sometimes I hear people saying, and from experience, I hear people saying that oh, it's been months and months and months since they created something, even years. And, that could last. Something else needs to come into your life and spark your creativity. And maybe it's just not happening with exactly where you're at right now. But it's never gone. Your trait is still there. You're still a creative person. Just wait on it and wait for the right inspiration to come. But right now, we're going to take a quick little break with Positive Trapping, Kush Mafia. Thank you for always sending in your jams, Keegan. of SCREAMCAST podcast. And I want to come at you, since we're on the topic of creative breaks and taking a healthy break, some factual Google facts about taking a healthy break. And this one comes from Forbes.com. A benefit of taking a healthy break, either while you're at work or doing projects that are deadline driven at home, is increased productivity. Helping with that mid-afternoon slump, getting the blood flowing out of your desk or out of your home office just kind of resets you, because sometimes you might find yourself at the desk or wherever you may be, sitting down, standing, wherever, and just being in one position for such a long period of time gets you kind of, put your brain like on autopilot. So get up and like do something. And this is from Forbes.com, so it's true, and that it'll make you money. So also, another benefit of taking breaks is creativity boost. When you're stuck, say, in an office or at your desk, you're looking at the same screen or the same four walls consistently throughout like the whatever amount of time that you're working. So when you go out and maybe go out on your lunch break, go look at the trees and all that good stuff, you set yourself up for a new perspective in life. So you're looking at different things, and when you're looking at different things in life, it gives you that perspective to get inspired or get new ideas that you weren't thinking about when you were sitting in that office. So just looking at new things, going outside, it doesn't have to be like, go all the way around the block. You can go all the way to the parking lot, and it'll be just a little bit of an uplift to your day while you're working, sitting down for 8 hours a day or something like that. It also, taking a creative break, helps you, it gives you more time for your hobbies and healthy habits. So while you're taking a break, you have time to snack, get your energy up, or you have time to work on a hobby that you're working on, maybe finish like an art piece, something that's a little more stress relieving than having to think during your break, oh, I need to get back to work in like 20 minutes, do something a little more productive. But I know that's way easier said than done, because you can't always just make yourself go and, do your hobby. Sometimes your hobby is a little bit tiring, so maybe sometimes that'll be hard during work. Psychology Today says that taking regular breaks helps prevent fatigue. And if you don't know really what fatigue is, it's when you've spent like a whole day just up doing stuff or whatever, and you haven't eaten all day, or you haven't drank water, and you're kind of just like lethargic and not wanting to do stuff. That's like kind of like fatigue. It's like you're dying. So yeah, taking a regular break helps you kind of remember and put your mindset into you taking whatever it is that, nutritionizes you or nurtures you. That was the word, that nurtures you. DJ Silver Fox says walks are the best. And I agree, they're beautiful. Sometimes I have a hard time finding the energy to just get up out of my house or my workspace and just go around the block. But it's very necessary. You need to get that blood pumping. You need to like go around, like I said too on Forbes, it said getting that new perspective and like getting that new inspiration can just like add so much more to your day. And what's crazy is it also says that 81% of your employees who take regular lunch breaks have a stronger desire to be a part of the company that they're working for, says Forbes.com. So that's just crazy to me. So but it makes sense. When you're working at a company for 9 to 5, 8 hours a day, you're better off, like, if you have enjoyable moments throughout the day, like if you have like, how some workspaces have like lounge rooms or playrooms and you get to lounge on the side at work for your break. It's just like it makes you want to work there more, I guess. It just kind of like puts you in that mood of like, oh, I had an enjoyable day today, so I'm gonna want to come back to like working there. It's not so bad, So I thought that was like a really crazy fact. It said 81% of employees feel that way taking regular breaks. DJ Silver Fox also says breakfast equals less breaks, which I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Like, if you have breakfast in the morning, are you saying that you are more productive during the day and get less breaks, or breakfast means that you have like less breaks in the morning. But I think breakfast is super, super, super important, to be honest. Because I think you were saying this earlier too. I had seen that you wrote this like in a tweet or something, but you need to eat in the morning because it gets your sugar levels up and that helps you not be depressed anymore. Not saying that sugar cures depression, but just getting your nutrition right and just making sure that your whole body is nurtured with like vegetables and, you know, all the parts of the food groups. I don't even know how many parts of the food groups are there, but you gotta kind of make sure you ration that out. Which I'm really guilty of, just eating a lot of bagels and cheese, which is really bad for you. Psychology Today also says it helps, taking regular breaks helps restore motivation, especially for long-term goals, by challenging our sustained attention span. So what I think about this is when say you're working on a project or what have you for about an hour or two or more, you're just focusing on this project, you're putting all of your energy, your mind, your perspective into this, but I'm assuming when you take that break, it kind of just releases your mind and like makes you think of other things. And when you think of other things, going back to perspective, you can bring that back into whatever project that you're working on or your work, and it's just a little easier to like get through it instead of just trying to force yourself to get through like a straight 3 hours of working. So that's really important, just to take that kind of like break. But like we said earlier too, don't overdo it. Easier said than done, but I kind of agree with my friend who said the 30-minute rule type of thing. If you're going past like 30 minutes and you're trying to work on something, like a deadline that's due very soon, then you kind of need to get back to it. I mean, unless you're like doing something that's gonna take like, that's due in like a year or something like that, where you can ration out your time. But it's easier. You always have to just judge yourself and see where, you know, you work best and what works best for you. But healthy breaks are always, always, always good. I also asked you guys on the Instagram story, on Screamline's Instagram story, what do you do during a creative block? And I got a lot of responses on this, and I also think that a lot of people have different meanings of a creative block. Some people think that they're longer, and some people think that maybe it's a short little break. Oh, DJ Silverfox says, who's this playing in the background? And this is Keegan Bentley's Gone Shrimpin', which I've played this before on the podcast, but I am such a huge fan of this one, actually. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this one. So shout out Keegan Bentley for always like supporting Screamline and supplying us with music. And answering some of our questions too. But what do you guys usually do when you're stuck in a creative block? What do you do during your breaks? For myself, I usually smoke weed. And I'll do something fun, like I'll watch, I get really into those stories on YouTube of murder mysteries and killer women and stuff like that. Killer Women or Deadly Women is just like, I love Deadly Women. It's a show on, I think Ion TV, but I watch it on YouTube. All the seasons are like uploaded on YouTube, so if you ever want to watch some crazy Deadly Women stuff, there's a lot of killers out in Vermont, and they made documentaries of them, and they're on YouTube. Somebody says when they take a creative block, they do kush. Oh, actually, this is really funny. About 3 people had answered they smoke weed or just wrote kush. So that was like something that a lot of people had in common too during a creative block. One person says when they have a creative block, they scream in silence and smoke or chill with one of my muses. And I think that's a beautiful thing. your friends are like readily available to you and you could just hang out with them, like go for it. Like you don't want to be sitting there in a room just kind of thinking and feeling bad for yourself. Like go out there and talk to people. If even you can't really hang out with your group, like talk to them online and use your resources too, because always getting that new perspective gets you inspired, and you can take something out from that and put it into your project that you're doing now. Also, someone says video games, which is a good one. It's just like movies, how it takes you away from reality. Video games, TV shows, and movies, they take you out of reality for that certain period of time. I'm guilty of getting like super addicted to The Sims though. Somebody says, like DJ Silver Fox said before, going for a walk and being mindful of all the nature around me and how everything is intertwined, which I think is beautiful. Yes, like that helps you get back into the present. When you're maybe anxious about the future, about what you're doing, your project, you just being mindful gets you back in the present. It's also something that a lot of therapists describe as like grounding, and is like looking around the room, seeing what color things are, seeing what's around you, what kind of smells you smell. It's a lot of like physical grounding and just like keeping yourself in the present. Somebody says cry. Someone says cry again, which I'm sorry that you cry. I've cried during my creative blocks too, feeling like you don't have a purpose or everything is like not coming into fruition the way that you want to. It's really hard, and honestly it's hard to get through, and I've gotten through it before, but in the future just remember that it's going to happen again and again. You're never going to be that perfect consistency throughout your life. Things are going to go up and things are going to go down. Just like Forbes says, creative blocks and creative productivity gives you great highs and great lows. Somebody says they take a break to smoke and chill, then come back to it semi-fresh, which is beautiful. Some people don't have that effect with weed all the time. Sometimes it chills you out, makes you not want to do anything, depending on how, it goes for you and how you take it. But a lot of people have told me they can't smoke during a productive time because they might get too stuck. But a lot of people who answered did say that they smoke weed, and they come back to it. Here's an interesting one too. Somebody says, I try to find as much new music and art as possible. It really helps me come up with ideas. So that's really cool. That's the ideal. You want to go out and find something that inspires you. One thing that kind of helped me out, even though it's kind of like, it's very simple. I go on Tumblr every once in a while when I'm, feeling uninspired and I want to get inspired. And there's hundreds of beautiful artists on there posting their work or posting news stories, current events, and all that good stuff. And that stuff inspires me every single day, just the knowledge that I get from other people online. So you can always use your resources and just go on social media, and you could always get inspired then. There's all these, if you're an artist, there's makeup looks on there that people do crazy stuff on there. There's arts and crafts blogs, there's arts and crafts vlogs, there's all kinds of stuff for you to get inspired. And I know sometimes it may be hard finding the energy or the soul just to get up and do it. Just get up and do all your stuff. It's so, it can be challenging. But once you get there, you realize that, hey, this didn't take too long, or hey, this didn't take too much of my energy. For example, I actually put off, I do this a lot. I put off something that I've been meaning to do for months and months, and when I finally do it, it takes me 5 minutes, and I'm just oh, that wasn't too bad. But it comes and it goes, highs and the lows. But we are gonna take a break with this Destiny's Child remix. So thank you again for joining us on SCREAMCAST podcast episode 6, and we're here talking about the infamous creative block and healthy creative breaks. We asked on Instagram, what do you usually do during a creative break or during a healthy break? And we actually got a lot of answers from you guys, so we're going to continue those right now. Somebody says during a break they look up tutorials to learn new things of the craft that seem useful till the creativeness comes back, which is beautiful. I love going on YouTube. Everybody, it's just so important how many resources and how many teachers, how many professors and doctors make YouTube videos about things, and it's something that you should really take advantage of, because sometimes you can't always go to school or can't always go to that class or that group or whatever it may be to, further your passions, but you can always go on YouTube and find someone who's talking right to you and giving you directions for exactly what you want to do or what you need to do. So that's really helpful. And there's also one thing that I want to put out there. Lynda.com, Lynda, just got bought by LinkedIn, the job site. It's right hand in hand with Indeed. And now that LinkedIn bought Lynda.com, a lot of the learning courses under Lynda.com are being accredited to LinkedIn Learning. And if you don't know what Lynda.com is, it's pretty much a website for tutorials where you can get a certificate in, say, anything you want, like the digital design, fashion photography, wedding photography, any trade that you can think of. There are tutorials on there that you have to pay for, but you do get a month free if you change your email every month, which I do. Just kidding. But if you go to lynda.com, you could pretty much learn everything you need to. There's tutorials from professors, from doctors there, and you do step by step. There's tutorials, and you pretty much just learn your trade or further your trade. And at the end, you may or may not get the certificate. And now that it's joined with LinkedIn Learning, I just can't imagine how many classes are being accredited by actual employers now. So that might be something that you want to look into if you're trying to learn a trade like that. Anything creative, or I don't think that there's too many medical things on there. That's the only thing too on lynda.com, but it's super helpful. I suggest that you try and get that 1 month free. It's, you're not losing anything, but maybe getting some spam mail, but it's well worth it. Somebody says when they take a creative break, you keep creating no matter what, keep producing, keep drawing, keep writing, etc. And that's beautiful. I don't know how I feel about that for some people, especially myself. It's hard to push myself through that threshold of creative block to put out something, because every time I personally try to put out something when I'm in that creative block, I hate it. I usually myself hate it. So I'm making all this stuff that I feel goes pointlessly to nothing. And I applaud those people who can just keep producing. That's beautiful. You're never gonna go dull, because that's a really hard thing to do. Easier said than done. Just keep creating. But a lot of artists had told me that before too. When you're in a slump, just keep putting yourself out there. Keep doing. Somebody says during a creative break, every little doodle, you never know what will manifest later down the road with what you made now. Which is true. You never know in the future. So if you're just messing around, which I think those two kind of go hand in hand, of keep creating, and this one says just every little doodle you do can lead to something more down the road. That's beautiful. You just need to, let me see, I guess you could take inspiration from yourself instead of going out and doing stuff and getting different perspectives. That's an amazing thing. Yeah, just getting inspiration from yourself and from the little things that you do here and there that sometimes you may not think are that important, but later down the road they do lead to bigger things. And I definitely have experience with that, and it's not something that I do purposely, but little things out of nowhere become bigger things eventually if it's in the right place at the right time, And I don't know if you guys believe in fate or free will, but I do believe in fate sometimes. Somebody says during a creative break, they go do other stuff, or go doing other stuff that you enjoy, and it will balance out, which I definitely believe in too. When you're, hitting a break, you can't really produce or create, you don't want to, or you just can't. Just go out and do your regular stuff, like go to the beach when you like to, go to, wherever you want to go. Like, what is fun for me? I like to recycle. But also going to the beach too, doing hobbies, going skating, not always smoking, even though everybody says that they smoke here, but not always smoking. You can go out and do some physical stuff, get the blood pumping. Oh, one thing that I wanted to talk about too is a lot of people said acid or LSD, and I feel like you have to have the time or make the time for an acid break, to be honest, because once you take it, you're kind of like in deep, so once you do that, you kind of have to like go through it, and I mean, that's a good thing. A lot of people said that acid can reset you in a way, like reset your brain or your mood, and I've honestly felt that before too, but what works for some people doesn't work for others. It's a really hard drug, and it's not something that one would recommend to everybody. But a lot of people here said acid to reset their creative block, which is wild. You definitely find some inspiration on acid and see some inspiration too. Somebody says, how do they deal with creative block? They say struggle, fear, laziness. Then I usually reach a breaking point and turn my habits around completely. Which I agree with too. I sometimes get to that low point. It's like the lowest point where you're like, God, I gotta do something about this soon. So I definitely do that too. I'm guilty of just pushing yourself to the edge, to the boundary, seeing how much you could take until you have to turn it back around. Someone says LSD, somebody says acid, which I didn't know that was going to be so prominent in these answers. Somebody says that they try to put themselves in the presence of creative and inspiring people, which is amazing. Somebody in the beginning said that too. Being around muses is what gets you kind of flowing and inspired. And I agree. I love being around art and being around my creative friends who are talented. There are so many talented people around you, even if you don't realize it right now. Like, so many people around you are talented and can teach you something. You're always there to learn. You're here on this earth to like learn. So you could always learn something from the creative people around you. Somebody also says keep making shit. So when you're on a break, you keep making shit, keep going. And I really do want to know if that works for a lot of people too. I'm genuinely interested about if you just keep pushing yourself, if that kind of like gets you to eventually make something else. I tend to make stuff when I'm bored, or when I'm in that mode of like, oh, I gotta keep going. I usually don't perform at my highest. Like I said before too, I usually don't like anything that I put out if I'm trying to like rush myself or if I'm trying to push myself too hard. But thank you guys again for answering all those questions, or for all your answers on this question. I definitely want to know in the future too if that really works for people, just pushing yourself. But in the meantime, we're gonna cut out with this break from Tommy Genesis, World Vision, one of my faves.
I don't know your friend, but I know that he know who I am. If you get the picture, I'ma get it, print out a scan. I'ma be the reason that you always fight with your man. Never met him, I just see my face on his Instagram. Cause they both really want me. Cause they both really want me. Cause they both really want me. Cause they both really showing up. If they show, they call me World Vision. Show me love. If they show, they call me World Vision. Showing up. If they show, they call me World Vision. Show me love. If they show, I sponsor all they women. Show me love. Show me love. Show me love. Show me love. always fucking ghost. Medium. Bitches try to lean, they just don't know. Bitches drinking lean, they're the daddy though. I'm the sponsor, they attached to my hip. Get it? Got a photo of each bitch on my fridge. Get it? You ain't thinking all emotions are flip. Get it? You ain't thinking that my put to a clit. Get it? I'ma lick up pussy, I'ma lick it good. I'ma lick a tummy, I'ma lick a hood. Don't be mad at me though. You don't know what I know.
Thank you again for joining us on episode number 6 of SCREAMCAST podcast. Thank you again for tuning in through all of our changes. And just a reminder too that this month of May is International Mental Health Awareness Month. So if you want, go on your own and go donate to a cause that you believe in, something that you're all about. And if you want something a little easier too, you can go to the homepage right here in our Instagram bio. It's I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but go in our Instagram bio, go online and get yourself a $5 Scream lighter. And just reminding you, we have these 2 designs. One comes in a variety of colors, and 25% of the proceeds go to the National Alliance for Mental Health, and that pretty much goes to finding treatment for and helping people in need with mental health issues. So if you want to do that, go online, and there also is a link where you can donate yourself too if you want to donate without, taking part of the proceeds. All the proceeds or all of your money will go to that donation bin. So go ahead and go on the Screamline website and find out where to donate this month. And thank you again. Check out our new stuff. Check out our past episodes on the website too, because I kind of revamped it a little bit. But thank you again for joining. We are going to catch you again in 2 Thursdays, right? In a Thursday after next. Same time, same place. And I'm going to cut out with an old classic. Dominic Pierce, See You Move. One of my faves. And thank you again.
SCREAMCAST brought to you by Screamline Hotline. Brought to you by Screamline Hotline. Brought to you by Screamline Hotline. Brought to you by Screamline. SCREAMCAST brought to you by Screamline Hotline.
Bye, guys. Thank you.